Welcome aboard Just Jets with your captain, Matt O'Leary. Buckle up and enjoy the ride.
Hello and welcome to episode number 24 of Just Jets. What's going on? I am Matt O'Leary, going to be hanging out with you. I wonder what we're going to talk about today. What's going on? I'm so excited to do this episode. A lot to get through. First and foremost, just wanted to say thank you for tuning in the first place. The podcast has been growing, and I really genuinely appreciate it. I say it every week, but I have so much fun doing this show. Honestly, it's my favorite thing that I do each week, so I really appreciate that. Second, before I get into really the topic that I want to hit on today, the amount of questions and voicemails I got was tremendous. I'm going to go through as many voicemails as I can. If I don't get to yours, please don't take it personally. I was overloaded this week with questions on the voicemail and on social media. I know that there were some Instagram questions. I'm not going to be able to get to them today. Just the amount of questions and comments on the DMs and stuff like that through Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, on the voicemail, in the YouTube comments. It's a lot to go through and put in a complete show. And while don't get me wrong, I really love the community that we have here and talking with you guys. And I really do try to get to as many questions as possible and to as many DMs as possible. Unfortunately, there's not enough hours in the day for me to do it. And again, it's part of the reasons because of you guys and you supporting me, which I absolutely love and I appreciate more than you even realize. But I would have to quit my day job and my side gig in order to answer every single question. And that still might not be enough time in the day. So just wanted to say that, and please never take it personally. I'm doing my best here, and we're just going to go through, like I said, as many as I can. And let's get through the Jamal Adams saga because, we had the initial reaction to the trade on Saturday. Yesterday, I talked about the Le'Veon Bell and Jamal Adams Twitter beef. Today, and believe me, there's going to be a lot of questions on the Jamal Adams topic that we're going to go through, but I wanted to talk about Joe Douglas in particular because I think he did an absolutely phenomenal job with this trade. You have someone who pretty much since, I would say, the trade deadline this past year, when the New York Jets quote-unquote shopped him, which was Joe Douglas answering the phone when teams called, and they didn't agree on anything. He was still here, finished the rest of the season, but things went really bad since then. And between the Daily News article that came out on Friday and just everything since pretty much the offseason got started, Jamal Adams and a trade has been a huge, huge topic. And Joe Douglas was pretty patient, and he was able to come up with a phenomenal deal that, hand up, I in no way, shape, or form or anything thought that Jamal was going to get traded for the return that he got. So Joe Douglas sends Jamal Adams and a 2022 fourth-round pick to Seattle for Bradley McDougald, 2 firsts, and a third. Whoa. Okay, so McDougald is like an above-average starting safety. I don't know if people are realizing how good this guy is. He's not Jamal. There's no doubt in my mind. He's not Jamal Adams. I'm not saying that, but he is more than capable at the safety position. He had Pro Football Focus grades above 70 2 out of the last 3 years, and this past year was a 62 if I'm not mistaken. He has 5 interceptions in the last 2 years, something Jamal Adams doesn't do, which is not a lot. He does a lot on the field, but he doesn't really generate turnovers to the clip that maybe you would like to see. If you wanted to give your biggest criticism beside his mouth on Jamal Adams, it would be that he doesn't create enough turnovers. That's not the case for McDougald. That guy is all over the field, and if you go on Twitter and search in his name and stuff like that, you will see videos, like I did, of McDougald as a leader in the huddle. That's what I like to see. He's 29 years old. He's got one more year left at $5 million. Not a whole lot against the cap. And what I like about this is it allows you to see what you have with Davis, the guy you just drafted in the third round this year. He's not forced to start right away. You can ease him into the mix, and you have a really, really good Band-Aid in McDougald. And maybe you do sign him. I would say probably not at 30 years old, but he's most likely a stopgap. And then you would have Marcus May and Ashton Davis as your long-term option, which is fine. And then on top of that, you have the 2 firsts, which, I mean, it's 2 first-round picks. I thought maybe you were getting 1 first-round pick and a player. 2 firsts and a third. You sent back a fourth and Jamal, obviously. But when you look at what the Raiders traded when they got Khalil Mack, or I'm sorry, what the Raiders got in return for Khalil Mack, or what the Jaguars got in return for Jalen Ramsey, and both those players play at a more premium position, it's not even anywhere close to what Joe Douglas was able to get for Jamal Adams. Jamal, great player, no doubt in my mind, very, very good player in this league. He was an All-Pro last year and a Pro Bowler in year 2. Very, very good safety. Very, very good safety. Not here to say otherwise. But a premium elite edge rusher and a premium corner, there's no doubt, is much more valuable. Anyone who watches football can tell you that. Those two positions are much more important on the field than the safety position. And the fact that Joe Douglas was able to get higher value on a guy who's pretty much been kicking and screaming for the last 3 months is absolutely insane. He did phenomenally. I can't say that enough. I have so much faith in Joe Douglas. I really do, which is slightly off topic, but some people tend to believe that I'm a little bit too negative on this team, which is fair. I do think I take a little bit of a negative, I would say realistic, but other people might say negative approach when talking about the Jets. But one thing I'm absolutely bullish on, besides the quarterback position, you know, guys should know how I feel about Sam Darnold. I love Joe Douglas. I think he is the perfect man for the job. I think him learning under Ozzie Newsome and under Howie Roseman, two of the better GMs of the last 20 years, is phenomenal. Two organizations with a ton of success. Comes over here. I've liked a lot what he's done so far. Outside of the Ryan Khalil signing, which was a late swing, and I didn't mind the swing. It didn't work out, but it wasn't catastrophic. He's not on the team this year. It didn't cost you a whole lot. You're fine. It didn't completely derail the team, as in other swings that we saw in the Mike Maccagnan era. But I really loved what he did in the draft. In free agency, he took a little bit of a conservative approach. My biggest critique would probably be the Robbie Anderson thing, but that's not even that much of a big deal. You're getting someone who's slightly, I mean, he's in the same ballpark. Perryman and Anderson, I would say, are probably in the same ballpark. I prefer Anderson, but that's not what this is about. What this is about is how much faith I have in the GM. Contrary to the coach, who I don't have very much faith in at all, I have a ton of faith in Joe Douglas, and what he was able to do on Saturday proves exactly why. He fleeced the Seahawks. Joe Douglas, by far, got the better end of the deal. And I understand the argument's going to be, well, Seattle, they're probably going to pick in the late 20s, or maybe they'll win the Super Bowl and pick 32nd. This just gives you more assets. Because who knows, maybe you're not going to use all first-round picks on drafting a player. Maybe you're moving one of those first-round picks to improve your team with a veteran guy. You don't have to necessarily use all 4, or you can use all 4 in the draft. And we'll talk about this year's draft and how it's going to be a little bit different, but when you're able to move on from a safety who, let's face it, didn't want to be here and get that kind of return is absolutely insane. The Jets were 16-32 with Jamal Adams. They went 4-12, 5-11, and 7-9. Not great. They were not a good team under Jamal Adams, and it's not all his fault. He's, again, was a phenomenal player for the New York Jets. And if you asked me before this trade went down on Saturday, Matt, what do you think the Jets' record's going to be this year? I would say probably 7-9 or 8-8. I picked 8-8 in my other in my video when I went through when the schedule came out. So let's say 8-8. If you ask me today, I'm still saying 7-9 or 8-8. I don't think the Jets dropped off a significant amount. Jamal Adams isn't going to win you a bunch of football games. So we went through it in one of these a few weeks ago where we said in Jamal Adams' 3-year career, how many games can you say that he single-handedly won for the Jets? Maybe the Dallas game and maybe the Giants game. That's 2 in 3 years. So I don't necessarily think that the New York Jets are going to be a significantly worse team on the field in 2020. They were 10th overall in defensive DVOA last year. You're getting CJ Mosley back. You're getting Avery Williamson back. That's going to help. You have a more than capable starting safety duo of McDougal and Marcus May with Ashton Davis in the wing. You improved at the cornerback position. Now, I would argue that they face much tougher teams this year and much tougher offenses. So while on paper their defense is probably pretty close to the level that it was last year, I think they're probably going to finish maybe around 12th or 15th in the league just because of the opponents that they're going to face. So with that being said, you could still win with a 12th to 15th defense and have a pretty solid defense at that. It's in the top half of the league. I still think they're a top half of the league defense without Jamal Adams. And on top of that, you're getting 4 swings in the first round over the next 2 years to rebuild around this team. And that's the thing. This move allows Joe Douglas to build around a 23-year-old quarterback. We saw that with the first 2 picks in the 2020 draft when he went out and got Mekhi Becton. He went out and got Denzel Mims, someone who probably shouldn't have been there when he picked in the second round. And now with the amount of picks that he has, he's going to have 6 swings in the first 2 rounds over the next 2 years if he doesn't touch any of those picks, obviously. He has 2 third-rounders next year. He has 2 fifth-rounders next year. I believe it's 9 draft picks as of right now. He can completely, 2 years from now, this can be a completely different looking offense. Because right now, they don't have a lot on offense. Outside of Le'Veon Bell and maybe Chris Herndon, we don't know because he's a bit of a question mark. He didn't play that much. He didn't play really outside of that one game last year. He was good in the second half of his rookie year, no doubt. I'm excited about his potential. And that's the thing. Mims is about potential. Perryman's about potential. Crowder, good slot receiver, but that's not someone who you're going to be going bananas over on offense. He's a fine player on a good team, but he can't be your best offensive weapon. And the point is, this could make life so much easier for Sam Darnold because they have done an awful job in his first 3 years building around this young kid. That can completely change with the amount of assets that you were able to just grab. And I absolutely love the trade. I was floored when this came out. I was stupefied. For lack of a better term, I couldn't believe that Joe Douglas was able to pull something like this off. Truly a tremendous job from him. And I don't think you can get much better than the return that he got. I really don't think you can sit here and complain about the return in any way, shape, or form. You have a mid-round pick in the third round, a starting caliber safety, and 2 first-round picks for, again, a guy who didn't want to be here. It's as simple as that. Would I have liked Jamal Adams and the Jets to work something out? Probably in a perfect world, yeah, sure. But this is a really nice looking alternative, and it is going to help out Sam Darnold in the long term. So I'm really excited to see what Joe Douglas does. And on top of that, last thing on this before I get into the voicemails, we have a lot to get to, but I just wanted to get this out there. If the New York Jets are in the market for a head coach, which many people believe that they will be after this year, what is more enticing than saying, hey, we have 4 first-round picks in the next 2 years? That's how you can recruit. To the voicemails we go. First one is Andy from Connecticut wants to talk about the Woody Johnson situation. Don't worry, we have a ton of Jamal Adams questions. We'll get to them. Just a few off the top is going to be on a little different subjects, but we'll get right back into Jamal. So first, let's hear from Andy from Connecticut on Woody Johnson.
Hey, Matt, it's Vinny in Connecticut calling once again.
Or Vinny, sorry.
Question for you today is regarding the Woody Johnson situation going on out in the media. And I guess what I want to ask you is, should something happen with the Johnsons where if the NFL was to force their hand, and similar to the Donald Sterling situation with the LA Clippers, who would you like to see own the New York Jets? Besides yourself, of course. I mean, let's just face it, the Johnsons have been brutal as owners in the last 20 years. I mean, everything from the get-go, from Belichick walking on us, building the stadium with the Giants, 1 home playoff game in 20 years, and that's just unacceptable. Me, personally, 1 guy comes to mind, Gary Vaynerchuk.
Ooh.
Gary Vaynerchuk.
Okay.
A self-made man, an entrepreneur in this country, came here with nothing. The ultimate fan who started with, if you've ever followed his story, couldn't afford to buy a Jets jersey as a kid, and his ultimate dream would be to own the whole franchise. So, love to hear your take. 1 guy, who would you like to see own the Jets? Take care.
I'm with you on Gary V. I don't know if he has enough money yet to buy the team, but that's the one that everyone's going to point to. And I love it. Like you said, he's came to this country, made his fortune, and he's a huge Jets fan. He loves it, and I like him a lot. I really do. I would be all for that. And if the keyword being if it's proved that Woody Johnson did say those things that are being reported from CNN, then yes, he should be forced out. I don't think there's any place for that in the NFL. They're going to investigate it, and if it is true, then yes, I would like him to be removed. And definitely, Gary V is someone who would be high up there on my list. Next up is one from Nick, and he's going to get into some of the different categories or awards that could be won in 2020.
Hey Matt, it's Nick from Atlanta. So I just have a kind of a question that's probably a break from the Jamal Adams saga. So I want you to hand out your pick for the off-season awards next year. So like MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, and then kind of go into our Jets fantasy world and give us a player who you'd love to see win that award, be it MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, stuff like that. Thanks. Love the show. Go Jets.
Appreciate the question. Thanks so much, Nick. So I'm going to go through a little bit on the quicker side, but each one of those. So the big one, MVP. My MVP pick is outside the box. So no one was really expecting Pat Mahomes. No one was really expecting Lamar Jackson each of the last 2 years to win the MVP. So I'm going to go with Kyler Murray. I think he is someone who could take a significant step forward this year with an offensive mind in Cliff Kingsbury. I really like what they got going on there. I like Kyler Murray's going to be my pick for MVP. Is it outside the box? A little bit. Offensive Player of the Year, I'm going to go basic Pat Mahomes. I just think he's going to put up monster numbers and want to prove everyone right after that contract, and would not be surprised if they won again this year. Defensive Player of the Year, I'm going to go with the brother, TJ Watt. Comeback Player of the Year, CJ Mosley. I'll take a jet on this one. He barely played last year, but when he was healthy and on the field, he was an absolute beast. So he's going to be my Comeback Player of the Year and my pick for a Jets player who can win an award this year. Offensive Rookie of the Year, I'm going to say Burrow, and I know that's kind of a chalk answer as a number one overall pick, but I don't think there's someone else who's going to come in and have a monster impact to that extent on the offensive side of the ball. Do they win a ton of games in Cincinnati this year? Probably not, but I think Burrow's going to be, more than fine this year. And for Defensive Rookie of the Year, Chase Young's probably a good bet, but I'm not going to do that. I'll say Isaiah Simmons just because I like his game. He could do a little bit of everything. So those are going to be my picks for the big awards. Next up is Chris, I believe. Yes, Chris from Jersey wants to talk a little bit about Gase.
Hey, Matt, what's going on? Chris from Jersey. Let me start by saying this is my team. I've been a fan for over 30 years, and some of what I'm about to say might seem a little contrary to that. So I'm with you 100% on your opinion of Gase. And with the comments Jamal made this week, I mean, if this stuff is true, your head coach walks out of the locker room and doesn't address the team at halftime. I mean, this guy is a clown. He has to go. How are we going to win with this guy?
You're right.
So with that being said, over the past decade or so, I found myself watching meaningless games in December while they're out of it, and I find myself rooting against them just to improve their draft stock, maybe help us out in the future. I hear the argument all the time, oh, you're not a fan if you want them to lose. But if losing these meaningless games improves our chances for a championship in the future, then I'm for it. So with that being said, my question to you is, do we actually have to hope our team has an unsuccessful year just to get this guy out of here and get a competent coach in here who can maybe bring us success in the future? Because we all know if they squeak out 9-7 and Sam takes a small step forward, he isn't going anywhere, and then the cycle continues. Let me know what you think. Thanks.
Yeah, appreciate the question, Chris. I don't think you necessarily have to root for the Jets to do poorly this year. I think that with their schedule, they are probably going to be, I said it earlier, but like a 7-9 or 8-8 team. Let's say they go 7-9, same record as last year. While last year was very, very tough to watch, I think this year they'll be a more watchable product and just lose to good teams, where last year they were just atrocious and were losing to, but like they had no business losing to Buffalo in week 1. They had no business losing to Miami on the road. They had no business losing to Cincinnati on the road. But that's what bad teams do. They find ways to lose those games. And I think that I don't think they're going to be bad enough to completely bottom out. But at the same time, I think, and again, this goes back to my trust with Joe Douglas, I think if they go something like 7-9, or let's say they just don't make the playoffs next year, I don't think he's going to bring back Gase unless they go 6-10 and Darnold's in the MVP conversation, putting up like stupid numbers. I think you have to see some sort of a step forward in the projection of the team. They can't be 7-9 again. They can't have another losing record and say, yeah, let's run back Adam Gase again, especially if their offense is 25th in the league, which I don't really think is all that crazy. And if they do finish 25th in the league in offense, that doesn't mean move on from Sam Darnold either. I just think you continue to build with what you have. Darnold's going to be 23 years old this year. You're saying that you can't entice a coach to come in here with a ton of draft picks and Sam Darnold at 24 years old? I don't know, man. I think you'd be able to figure it out. So while I don't necessarily think you're not a fan for your take on that, I wouldn't go that far at all. I completely understand where you're coming from. I just don't think you have to root for like a complete disaster, because I don't think it's going to take a disaster for Adam Gase to get removed. All right, we're going to get into the Jamal stuff now. First one's from Weston from Florida, and let's hear it.
Hey, Matt, it's Weston from Florida, and man, the Jamal Adams trade news just broke. It's incredible. We got 4 starting players, and I'm going to say a third rounder is a starting player.
Probably.
For one disgruntled safety. I mean, Joe Douglas he's a wizard. I mean, I wasn't, at this point with how he had just absolutely destroyed his trade value, I wasn't sure we were going to get 1 first rounder, but 2? I mean, it's fantastic. But my question for you is, how confident are you in the May and Ashton duo that we're going to be putting back there in the safety duo this year? Thank you for taking the call. Hope you have a great day. Go Jets.
Yeah, appreciate it. I am confident in, and I agree with everything you just said. I had that same reaction as believe me, as the trade news went down, I was amped up about it. I do think that we're going to see McDougal play and start this year, but they'll work Davis in, and I think you're going to be more than fine with those two in the future, Davis and Marcus May. Marcus May is underrated. He is a top half of the league safety, and I think that Davis can play at this level. I don't know if he's going to be a star, but I think he could be a capable player. You don't really need superstars at safety. You don't. I'm sorry. Again, Jamal Adams, great player, but it's not going to completely change the direction of your franchise having elite level safety. So I think you can get by with average safety play, and I would say at minimum, those 2 guys should give you just that. Next up is Michael, going to put his 2 cents in on the Jamal conversation as well.
Yo, what's up, Matt? It's Michael DePerna, man. I'm a big fan of your show. Pretty stunned by this whole Jamal Adams thing. My question is, what do you think about what we got in return for Jamal Adams? All right. Hope to see you soon, and hope my question gets added onto the show. Love the show. Keep it going, brother. Later on. See ya.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much for the question. I really love the value. I don't think you could ask for a whole heck of a lot more from Jamal Adams, or from the trade, I guess I should say, of Jamal Adams. You got a starting caliber safety to replace him. You have 2 first-round picks and another third-round pick. Yeah, it doesn't really make you that much better for this year, but that's not about it. The Jets aren't, like it or not, the Jets are not competing for a Super Bowl this year. I'm sorry. That's the fact of it, the matter. But this could be used as a building block here. You see who are long-term pieces, and there are things to root for this year. Obviously, Sam Darnold. Obviously, you're seeing what you can get out of the rookies. Are you going to give Jordan Jenkins a new contract? Are you going to give guys like Marcus May a new deal and Poole a new contract? So there are things to root for and things to look forward to this year. That's not what I'm not saying that this is a throwaway year by any stretch of the imagination, but the future is exciting now because of those 4 first-round picks that you're going to have over the next 2 years. That's huge. That it could potentially be franchise-changing. So I'm really excited about it, and I absolutely love the compensation, Michael. Again, you can't ask for too much more. Good job from Joe Douglas. Next up is Antonio from North Carolina, and he too wants to chime in on Jamal Adams.
Hey, Matt, it's Antonio from North Carolina. Now, I love the trade. Jamal was a drama queen, so we got him out of there and we got a big haul. But I think the 2022 first-round pick is great, and I think the safety we got is great. But looking to next year's draft, where we got the first-round pick and the third-round pick, I want to dig a little deeper because, I want to know what your opinion is on the value of those picks with COVID impacting college football.
Good question.
So, whether college football starts its season or whether they don't even start at all, what is the value of that first and third? Will we just be kind of blind? I mean, I know all drafts are going to be blind picks at the end of the day. because not all collegiate players transition well to the pros, but how much of a shot in the dark is this next year if we don't get college football? Just want to know your opinion on it. And regardless, we got a great haul for a player who didn't want to be here. And, the 2022 and first round pick in the safety, I think is still great regardless. So, all right, man, take it easy. Bye.
Yeah, really appreciate the question. That's really well thought out. And it's slightly concerning. Again, I don't think it really changes my opinion on the value of the trade. I still think it's phenomenal. I really don't have a good answer for you yet because we don't know if there's going to be a college football season, if it's going to be shortened, if there's going to be a draft, all that stuff. It's really still up in the air, which is a little bit sketchy to make a big-time move like this. I get it. But even based off of 2019 film, I guess, and the 2019 season, I still think you can make pretty educated guesses. The day after the draft comes out, you have mock drafts for the next year's draft class. And I think, it's going to be really difficult. But if there is still let's say there's no season and no draft, yes, it's probably going to be a little bit more of a crapshoot than usual. But I still think you can find talent, and maybe you use the second first round pick, or the lower of the 2 first round picks, whatever it tends to be. You trade it for something. You can do a whole lot with this. To me, it's just all about adding future assets, which is important. So, while I think it's a completely fair concern, Antonio, I get where you're coming from. I wouldn't worry too much about it just yet because we still don't know. And that's the biggest thing, is that it is an unknown if there's going to be a college football season or not. I would lean towards that there's not, but I still think there are ways to improve your team, whether it's through the draft or in a trade with what the Jets were able to get. So while a very good question and completely a fair concern, I wouldn't worry too much about it yet. Next one is Travis from Ohio, wants to throw his 2 cents in on Jamal.
Hey, Matt. Big news with the Jamal trade. Again, like I said before, he became too high maintenance, and that's why he's an ex-girlfriend. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I love the haul we got in. It was pretty bossy. McDougald's going to be a decent Band-Aid for a year, and then we got Davis and May, as long as we re-sign May. So, my question is this: how do you think the 80-man instead of the 90-man roster is going to work out? Do you think that's going to help or hurt us? I think we got better on both sides of the ball, even though we don't have Jamal anymore. I think when we got Williamson and Mosley back, I think that's going to help. Offense definitely improved, but it could have only gone up after last year. And I remember how much when Douglas got there, how much he was watching the waiver wire and how many people he was plucking off there and trades he was making for late-round picks. So hopefully that helps us out. But I was wondering if the 80-man will help or hurt us. I know we can cut some fat, but, we'll see what happens. Love you, buddy. Stay healthy. Bye.
Thank you so much for the question, Travis. Appreciate it as always. Hope you're doing well. I definitely think to hit on the 80-man roster instead of the 90, I feel bad for the undrafted free agents. That's who it's going to affect the most. So that's who I think obviously it's going to be the toughest. And there's not as long of a preseason, so you're not going to be able to see those guys, which is usually when you do see it. So it stinks. It really does. It's not fair to those guys. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like there's anything they could really do about it. I feel really bad, but that's what's going to affect the most, the undrafted free agents who unfortunately probably aren't going to have a high chance of sticking on the roster because they're not going to have a ton of opportunities to prove themselves. It's really too bad, but I think that's the truth, unfortunately. Next up is Brandon from Dallas, and he wants to get his 2 cents in on Jamal as well.
Hey, Matt, how you doing? This is Brandon from Dallas. I send you all types of stuff on Instagram regarding the Jets. Big smooth, but
oh, there we go.
Anyway,
yeah.
I couldn't agree with you more with regard to your first video. This is a great haul by Joe Douglas. I can't believe it. I'm happy. I'm sad that it didn't work out with Jamal, but it was time.
Yep.
It was time to make this decision, and the last article pretty much was the nail in the coffin. But my question is, with this new assets that we have, do you think we should reallocate these assets for perhaps a proven player, maybe a Yannick Ngakoue, maybe flip that third rounder for him? Just want to know your thoughts. Have a good one. Go Jets. Keep doing what you're doing, man. Love you guys. Talk to you later. Peace.
Appreciate the question. Thank you so much, my man. And yeah, I think you can sell me on that, trading a pick. Now, I mean, you have 9 in this upcoming draft. If you tell me you're giving up on one of those guys, or one of those picks rather, to get a guy like Yannick Ngakoue, sign me up, man. Premium position, 25 years old, someone who could fight for double-digit sacks every year. Heck yeah, sign me up for that. I would love that. I think that's a really smart play, Brandon. You don't have to tell me twice or convince me to give up a pick for Yannick Ngakoue. I'm a huge fan of his game. I think he's definitely something the Jets miss on the defensive side of the ball. Yes, I talk more about the offense because, one, in today's game, offense is more important. You have to be able to put up more points. That's just the direction the game is going. And on top of that, last year they were a top 10 defense and second worst offense in the league. You have to do a lot more work and overcompensate so you get that a little bit close. If you can get it, if you're both at 15 and 15, you have a much better chance of competing. Obviously, you want one of those to be higher up, but you could survive with a 15th overall defense. You can't survive with a 31st offense. So, yeah, outside of an edge, focus on the offense. But I'm with you on that one. Thank you so much again for the call, Brandon. Next up is, I believe it's Hans from Poughkeepsie with the Jamal reaction.
Hey, what's up, Matt? This is Hans from Poughkeepsie, New York. And I am stoked about this
Love
trade.
it. Love it.
We're sending Seattle Jamal Adams and a 4th-round pick for 2 firsts, a third, and an above-average starting safety. Like, this is robbery. You thought Jamal Adams was the president? Nah. Give me Joe Douglas, man.
Yes.
Joe for president.
Yes.
You make build this guy a statue. He's done more moves than any GM I've seen. Now, given I've only been a Jets fan seriously for about 10 years, I'm only 18, but this is amazing stuff that Joe Douglas is doing. And I actually had a question for you. If you were Joe Douglas, would you have accepted the trade if instead of 2 first-round picks, Seattle only gave us 1 first-round pick, and instead of the third and Bradley McDougald, it would be DK Metcalf?
So a first
I
and
think
DK.
I would do that trade as well. But again, this was a haul, and Joe Douglas is a mastermind. Love the show. Love what you're doing. Been watching for a while. And as always, go Jets, baby.
Love the energy on that call, my man. Thank you so much for calling in. I would still do that trade, yes. Just because, again, honestly, what I was just talking about, the need for improving on the offensive side of the ball, I would do it. I would. With that being said, I'm not complaining about what Joe Douglas did. I think you can make cases on both sides that one is better than the other, which I'm not necessarily looking to do right now. But I will say this: yes, I would have done that trade as well. And you have every reason to be excited about Joe Douglas because he has done everything right so far. I mean, you look at what he's been able to do. Last year, he took over a team. Free agency was over. He couldn't really spend too much. Picking up Ryan Khalil was a swing and a miss. But, again, I understood where the swing was coming from. They needed a center. This guy just retired. He was elite level center. Maybe he still has something left in the tank. He didn't, and it didn't really cost him a whole lot. But then he flips a late-round pick for Alex Lewis, who was probably the Jets' best lineman last year, completely revamped that offensive line. They're going to have 5 new starters on opening day this year versus what it was last year. It's insane what he's been able to do. And the job's not done. They still have work to do. They really do. And I'm just excited about the future with Joe Douglas because I have a ton of faith in him, and I definitely think that Hans does as well. So next up is Felix from Canada. Let's hear from Felix.
Holy smokes. This is Felix from Canada, and I just saw the Jamal Adams trade. I'm so ecstatic. I'm so happy that this finally happened. I really am. But my question for you today is, do you think Ashton Davis will step up to the plate? Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you so much for the question, Felix. I don't think Ashton Davis is going to be a starter this year. I think they'll work him in for sure. But I do have faith in him. I really do. He's a unique player. He's a really good athlete. He was pretty much a track guy that converted to playing safety. While he's not going to be Jamal Adams level, I think that's completely unfair to ask. I think he could be an average starting safety, which you can get by with that. Marcus May is a very good safety, and then you have a player who can hold his own on the other side. You'd be in pretty good shape. I'm really not worried about Ashton Davis or the safety position going forward for the Jets. I'm not. It doesn't really hold that much value, or as much value as what they got for Jamal Adams, I guess I should say. So thank you so much for the question. Next up's Danilo from Brooklyn. And let's hear from Danilo, who wants to talk Jamal.
Hey, Matt O'Leary, pleasure to meet you. Love your platform. I'm
Thank
Danilo
you.
from Brooklyn, New York. I've been a New York Jets fan since Curtis Martin, Lavernius Cole,
Yes.
Pennington,
Me too.
and on. I kind of more have a comment, well, actually a question. The point I want to make is, what are the chances of the Seahawks even re-signing a dude like Jamal Adams? Because when you look at the Seahawks' history with their superstar players, you can go down the list and concede the contract struggles that they had with long-term contracts. The only contracts I think were successful with Bobby Wagner and Russell Wilson. When you look back at Marshawn Lynch, you look back at Curse, you look back at Cam Counselor, Earl Thomas, Richard Sherman, and you go, wow, these guys ain't really playing out with the Seahawks long term. So, long story short, you really think that this guy is going to be able to get a long-term contract that he think he would have gotten with the Jets? Hope you get back to me with some feedback. All right, take care.
Yeah, appreciate the question. Thank you so much for calling in. And I really think that's fair to point out with the guys on the Seahawks who didn't resign. Now, I would assume that if you're giving up that kind of compensation, you're going to do everything you can to re-sign the guy, but they're going to have to clear out some space and move on from some pretty good football players, because it came out again today, and it was Connor Hughes of The Athletic who said it, that Jamal Adams is looking for $20 million a year in an extension. That's insane. That's nuts. I would not paying it. Don't think the Jets should have done it. Completely rather the trade. If Seattle does it, that's great, I guess, for them. But I would think, while it's completely fair to bring up all the guys you just listed off who they didn't re-sign, I think if you give up what you do, or give up what they did in order to get Jamal, that you do everything you can to keep him around. Next one's from Alistair. I'm sorry if I get the name wrong. It's hard to hear in the beginning. Calling it from Manhattan. Wants to talk about Jamal Adams.
Hey, Matt, it's Alistair from Manhattan. Quick question for you. What percentage blame do you ascribe to the Jets and to Jamal, respectively, for the breakdown in the relationship that resulted in him being traded to the Seahawks for an absolute bounty of a haul?
Right.
For what it's worth, I think it's probably like 85% Jamal, 15% Jets, maybe even higher for Jamal. But curious to your thought. And nice move wearing the your Bilal Powell jersey, while a great team player and leader in the locker room for many years, while doing your video on the Jamal trade. Great choice of jersey. Appreciate the comments. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely, no doubt. I'm a huge Bilal Powell fan. I think he's been really undervalued, underappreciated, and frankly underutilized for a far majority of his New York Jets career. Unfortunately, I don't think he comes back to the Jets. I hate to see him go. Again, I think he was really undervalued at points during his Jets career. With that being said, as far as the blame game, I think you're pretty close at 85-15. I might go 90-10. And the reason for the 10% for the Jets is, I think if they, my biggest critique is if they just communicated a little bit more with Jamal. But from the overreaction to the trade deadline last year to the complete meltdown this offseason, I would say a far, far majority, like you said, is on Jamal Adams and his camp. The 10% is probably just on the maybe miscommunication, or that might be the best way to describe it. Again, I don't put a whole lot of blame at all on what the New York Jets did from their perspective. To me, this was just someone who really just completely melted down, unfortunately. But I'll say 90% on Jamal, 10% on the Jets, because maybe Douglas could have communicated a little bit better, but we're splitting hairs at that point. So I'm going to say 90-10. Thank you so much for the question. Next one is from Parker from Long Beach. Let's hear from Parker.
What's up, Matt? It's Parker from Long Beach Island. I was just wondering what you thought about the picks we got from the Adams trade and what value you think they'll probably bring for us, considering that Seattle's probably going to be drafting pretty late in the next two drafts if Russell is still healthy and is still playing at an elite level. I just want to know what you would think or what we might be able to get out of those picks, if considering they may be late in the first round. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate the question this week, Parker. I am going to say that I obviously the higher your pick is, the more likely you're going to hit, but you can still get some pretty good players. One of the last times the Jets had 2 first-round picks in 2006, they were able to get Nick Mangold with the 29th pick. They were also in 2008, they were able to get Dustin Keller in the late first round. And in 2013? Yeah, 2013, they got Sheldon Richardson with their second first-round pick. Granted, it wasn't as high or low, however you want to describe it, in the first round, or late, I guess, in the first round, as Seattle is probably going to pick. But I still think you can get pretty good value. This team needs help at the wide receiver position, and they still need a lot of help at other positions. So maybe, and again, we have a long way to go. We don't know what the team's going to look like this year, who takes a step forward. We don't know anything about free agency yet for next year. But as of right now, you could probably make the case that they could use help on the offensive line still at the other tackle position. They probably still need wide receiver, and they probably still need edge. So if you tell me that you are taking a swing at maybe with a higher pick, you go edge, because that's a premium position, and then maybe you go a wide receiver and you're picking, 27th, and you take a swing on a wide receiver, 27th overall. I think you get pretty good value there as well. And, or maybe it's corner. Who knows? They can go a lot of different directions, and that's what I think excites me about it. And maybe they decide to trade that pick, the later one, for an established player like a Yannick Ngakoue, or maybe they're trying to pull Allen Robinson in a trade before this year, because it doesn't seem like they are going to the Bears are going to extend him, or maybe you're trading for Juju or whatever. I think there's a few different ways you can go about operating, and I still think you get a pretty good player in the late first rounds. Sure, there's a chance for a miss as well, but I wouldn't go too crazy thinking that it's going to most likely it's going to be a pick from 25 and beyond. But I still think it's more than fair for what you're asking for Jamal Adams in a trade. Next up is Dom from Floral Park. Let's hear from Dom.
What's going on, Matt? Dom, Floral Park. Listen, just had the Jamal Adams news come across the wave yesterday. Honestly, they blew me away with the amount they got back for him. I really thought that they were just going to have to get, if they were lucky, a first, maybe third, second round pick, hopefully a player. And they ended up getting all 3 of those things and more. So I can't really complain. Just
100%.
Quick question with that draft pool. You think it's a better idea, to go out, make some calls on guys like maybe Juju Smith-Schuster, maybe another type of guy that's last 2 years of his deal and he's a star receiver, Chris Godwin, or save those picks and use them in the draft and see what Joe Douglas can do. Thank you. Thanks for taking my question last time. Go Jets.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate the question again this week, my man. And I like I said just a second ago, I think you definitely could. Now with the increased assets, You can do one. You could do one or the other, and I have no problem with it. Again, maybe okay. Let's say this. Let's say there's no college football this year, and you take the later of the two first-round picks and move it for Juju and then extend him, or you move it for Allen Robinson and then extend him, or Godwin and then extend him. Then great, you're helping out Sam Darnold. Sure, I'm all in for that. I don't think that's a bad idea at all, Dom. I really don't, and you can really compete with that. Or on the flip side, like I just explained, you can maybe take someone who's maybe a little bit more of a developmental player in the sense that, I mean, listen, if you're picking someone in the top 5, you're expecting them to be an immediate impact player. No doubt about it. But you can still get some really good value in the late first round. So I don't think you can go wrong either way, and that's really the exciting part. And I trust Joe Douglas, so that's another reason to be excited about it. Next up is Jeff from New Jersey, and he wants to talk about Gase and some potential replacements.
Jeffrey from New Jersey. Hey, Matt. Love your show. I
Thank
just
you.
saw that the Giants signed Chandler Catanzaro, so I had to laugh a little bit. But
Yes, saw that
anyway,
too.
my question is directed towards Adam Gase. So say, things go down south, this season. Things go south. And he ends up getting fired, which I hope the best for him this season. I hope we do well, but say he's fired. What are 4 names that come to your mind about coaches who could replace him? Me, number 1, Eric Bieniemy. I think that's a pretty obvious one, but I want to know your thoughts. Thanks. Have a good day.
Yeah, I'm going to say Eric Bieniemy. He's probably my number 1 choice, but I do have some other options. PJ Fleck, if you want to go the college football route. You guys know, if you've been with me for a while, how high I was on Matt Rule, and I was begging the Jets to hire Matt Rule, and I'm very excited to see what he could do in Carolina. But PJ Fleck, I think, could be put in that same category of kind of coach going from the college level to the next level, building a program, having success building a program. Greg Roman, the offensive coordinator of the Ravens, completely revamped that offense, going from Joe Flacco to Lamar, and I think he's done a great job with that. So maybe you give him a shot. And the last guy on my list, the last guy for now on my list is going to be Robert Saleh, the defensive coordinator for the 49ers. He's done a great job with that unit. Is definitely someone who I think is going to get a crack at the head coaching job. If you do go that route, you have to get a really good offensive coordinator in here for sure. Maybe Joe Brady. Is it too early to want him as a head coach? There's a lot of different options you can go. The 4 for right now, I'll say, is Bieniemy, Fleck, Roman, and Saleh, and we'll go from there. I'm sure there's other names that are going to become a little bit more popular as the year goes on, but those are my 4 for now. Thank you so much, Jeffrey. Next up is Josh from Woodmere, and he wants to talk about the coronavirus and the impact it has on college football.
Hi, Matt. It's Josh from Woodmere. I was just thinking, with Corona and probably there might not be college football season. Hopefully, there'll be an NFL full 16-game season, but
right.
College might not happen. So, now we got 2 first-round picks for the first time in the draft, and in a while, in the same year. So, do you think if there's no college football season, do you think that there's any chance that they would cancel the NFL draft? Because I feel like it would be, much less deep, and I think that there will be a draft. I was just talking with one of my friends the other day, and they said they wouldn't. So I want to get your opinion. What do you think would happen? I just feel like they would have to do draft. But, yeah, what do you think? And thanks so much. Love your show. Look forward to it every week, and go Jets.
Thank you so much for the question, Josh. Really appreciate it. I would say I think there is going to be a draft. Whether there's going to be a season or not is still really up in the air. My take is if there isn't a college football season, I think they'll give the seniors an option of coming back and playing that year instead of entering the draft. And I think you're going to see more of a choice, whether it be to enter the draft as is without the year 2020 film and you're just going based off of 2019 in the past, or play another year in college, whether it be if you're older or if you would have been eligible or whatever. So I think it would give the players the option at least. So if they want to enter the draft, they can, and they can start making their money. Or if they want to come back and prove themselves and maybe raise their draft stock, they could do that as well. So I think that's probably the fairest way to do it. It's going to be really weird. There's no doubt about it. But I think that's my answer for now, Josh. Hopefully that answers your question. Next up is Nick from LI, and he wants to talk a little bit about McDougal and May.
Hey, Matt. It's Nick from Long Island here. Hope it all is well. Crazy Jamal Adams trade that just happened. But
yeah,
my question to you is, I have two of them. First one, do you think with the addition of Bradley McDougal, it threatens Marcus May's security for his job next season and a contract for him? And my second question is, I know that there's potentially not going to be a college football season. What players would you like to see the Jets draft in next year's draft, along with an upcoming stacked 2021 free agent class? Let me know, and go Jets, and thanks for taking the call. Bye.
Appreciate the question. So I really don't think McDougal is going to push Marcus May. I think they're both going to start this year. And then I really think if I were betting, I think they move on from McDougal just because of his age. I don't think you're going to sign a 30-year-old safety. Defensive backs usually don't age well once they hit over 30 years old. Yes, there are exceptions to the rule for sure, but for the most part, once you hit 30, it kind of starts to decline. So from there, I really think they would move forward with May and Ashton Davis as their two safeties. And as for the draft, it's still too far away to pinpoint specific players because we don't know what things are going to happen this year. B, what free agency is going to look like. I can tell you some positions, and this kind of goes for both in free agency and the draft that I would like to see them improve on, and that would be continue to improve the offensive line, find some more long-term solutions at guard and on the other tackle side, on the right tackle, because I don't have a ton of faith in Chuma Doga long-term, and I think Fant's kind of a one-year stopgap kind of option. Wide receiver, I definitely think is an area that you're going to need to improve. There's a chance you're looking for a starting running back if you decide to cut Le'Veon Bell. You could address that in either the draft or in free agency. On the defensive side of the ball, maybe you're looking for a high-end corner. It depends on what Bless Austin does this year. Arthur Mollett and the guy you just drafted in the 5th round, or did they draft in the 5th round? I don't remember. Bryce Hall, they drafted this year. I think it was the 5th round. Can't remember off the top of my head. I think it really all depends on what they do this year, but corner could potentially be an option. Edge has been an issue since John Abraham left in 2006, so that's definitely still on there. Interior defensive line, you guys know how I feel about that. You have so many guys, you don't need any more of that. Inside linebacker is pretty set, and safety should be set. So those are really the positions that I think you're looking at. I don't really have any specific names yet, so hopefully that answers your question. Last question is coming from somebody from New York City. I didn't get the name on this one. It says it too quick, but has a question on what you could do now since you didn't pay Jamal Adams.
Hi, I'm Kabir. I'm calling in from New York City. I wanted to ask, do you think they should go after Jadeveon Clowney now that they don't have to pay Jamal Adams? Like, give Clowney the $15, maybe $16 million if he's asking for on a one-year deal.
No, I would not pay Jadeveon Clowney $15 or $16 million on a one-year deal. I don't think he helps his team. He's very, very good against the run. The Jets were the second or third team in the league against the run last year. He's not really a prototypical edge pass rusher. He's not going to get a ton of sacks. He has never gotten double-digit sacks. And while he's a solid player, for sure, I just don't think he's going to fill the role that the Jets need, which is someone who is a sack artist. Someone who can get you double-digit sacks. That's not Jadeveon. So while I think he's a good player, I just don't think he fits the need for the Jets. So I would avoid him. Again, thank you for all the questions this week. I had a ton. If I didn't get to it, I'm sorry. I really appreciate all the love and support that I get from everyone on here, wherever you listen to, the podcast, whether it be on YouTube or, again, whatever your favorite podcatcher is. Please make sure to subscribe. I really appreciate it. It helps me out a lot if you subscribe and leave a review. Really appreciate it. It was fun. This weekend was really fun for me because this is huge for the Jets. Could be franchise changing, and when big news like this happens, the audience grows, which is something I'm really thankful for. I'm thankful that I'm able to do this, and for you guys and for myself. It's something that I love to do. Something that I'm really proud of. So thank you for supporting me in everything that I do. It's something that I appreciate. So thank you for that. Once again, I'm Matt O'Leary. This has been episode number 24 of Just Jets, and I'll talk to you next time.